we're joined from London by Mr. Nicholas Williams, former NATO official, and from Cairo by Dr. Ashraf Singer, world politics analyst. Good morning to you both, gentlemen, and welcome to Qnews in depth. And starting with you, Mr. Williams, and why are southern European countries, including Spain, Italy, and France, are opposing the European Commission's plan for rearming Europe through loans?
Good morning. I don't think they're opposing it on principle. What they're doing is opposing it for financial and fiscal reasons, and they want the loans, even if they're cheap interest loans, they want these loans not to be loans but grants, so that they don't count against their fiscal ceilings. And so again, it's not on principle. All these countries, except perhaps Italy, want a more independent Europe in terms of defense.
So we're speaking here about loans. The term loans itself, that what matters to them, right?
Yes, it's the principle of loans. They just want the money and not to pay it back.
Right. Dr. Singer, given the heavy debt burdens of southern European countries, how realistic is it for those nations to accept such loans for defense purposes?
So this is one of the major problem, or that division, among the EU states or the EU member of NATO. In other words, the theory of collective action can really give us like a hint how to understand what is going on there. One of the major problems of the collective action is the free riding. So most of the European countries, they were and are free riding on the US as a NATO member, providing of security goods or providing the military spending for European security. With Donald Trump, made that kind of action, change the status quo, that the United States is no longer now currently, providing the security and arms for Europeans, and the European countries, they should really act collectively to defend themselves. So this is why the EU Commission, proposed $800 billion, almost euros, almost equal to United States spending. This is very big step to Europe. But how I can really, think the EU Commission, or what their plan or their future by arming Europe by loans or getting that from their own budget. So most of European countries, they don't really like to extract the military budget from their own budget, from their GDP, as Trump, proposed 2%, and he was asking 5%. But still, some European countries, they still believe that United States will provide the security goods. It doesn't matter the current situation, either Gaza, or Ukraine, Russia, or that type of division, or that kind of Trump, plan to acquire Greenland to be a part of the U.S., not
Right. There seems to be a kind of technical problem here. Dr. Singer will get to Mr. William. Now, Mr. William, amid the rising or the increasing levels of the European public debt, do you think the European countries could be or will be able to increase the military spending to the required levels?
The short answer is no. Yes, they may be able to um, increase defense expenditures to 2.5% or even 3% of GDP over the long term, provided there is economic growth. But this idea depends entirely on governments, European governments, EU governments, um, being able to afford a rise in defense expenditure. And the countries that have objected to this loan idea are all countries who have huge debts and cannot increase their defense expenditure without grants, without money being given to them to pay for it. And the countries who are in a relatively good situation, like Germany, like the Netherlands, don't want to give the Mediterranean states, Club Med as they call them, the right to get grants without paying them back, because in effect, the Germans and the Netherlands and the Finns will be paying for the Spain, France, and so on to increase the defense expenditures. And that solidarity of Europe, of the EU, is not there. Yes, there is solidarity in rhetoric, in principle, but when it comes to money, the EU is a nationalist system.
We'll get back to this very particular point, but let me get here to Dr. Singer. And some countries are calling for defense bonds instead. Now, what are the financial implications of this proposal for both high debt and low debt EU nations?
So that proposal, for the high debts or low debts, most of European countries, except, probably Germany, they have a very strong, budget or strong financial situation compared to the other European countries, particularly for military spending. To collect that amount of money, it's not really easy job, particularly for the countries. They are really under a huge burden of the either of their financial obligations or because of their future or potential military burden. And this is big challenge, particularly for the small countries in Europe. And basically, big guys, like Germany, one of them, they will not replace the U.S. Of course, Germany is the highest level of the highest volume of the GDP in the EU, but Germany cannot really take that responsibility of the whole Europe. And this is one of the major problems, that Germany is not really welcoming to provide security goods, and the other countries just enjoying to be a free rider, as United States, was trying and is trying to kick out, the free rider countries in Europe, and this is not the policy that Germany can really accept it. So basically, rearming Europe through bonds, most of the countries will not accept, and they cannot really accept, that is, you can increase that kind of the burden on their shoulders. They don't need that, and this is major conflict or disputes in reshaping Europe. So long time ago, Europe wasn't really presenting one foreign policy, and now to move Europe to be like a one military policy is not really easy. And this is why United States was had really enjoying, to see or to watch that kind of division among European countries. This is why United States was really controlling Europe from A to Z, and this is why Trump is trying, to push Europe to his plan with Russia and ending, the Russian war, Russia-Ukraine war, based on the Trump conditions, which is really representing Putin conditions, and this is why most of the European countries, they need really to find a resolution with the United States. And I think United States and Europe, it's really hard to make that division between Europe and United States because both of them, they need each other to still forming a one dominant power in the international system. The EU plus the US is still the viable solution for peace and create stability in international power. So this is my point of view. It seems to me like it's just shaking the status quo, but will not be as a future division between Europe and United States.
Right. Mr. Williams, you spoke about the European Union and the European states, and when it comes to money, they are not on the same wavelength, or they do not have consensus among them. But we're speaking about the military expenditures. We're speaking here about the strategic importance of the issue. Now, how will these countries' concerns about that impact the overall European defense strategy, and how feasible is their alternative plan of defense bonds?
Well, I think that up until 9 weeks ago, up until the advent of Donald Trump as 47th President of the United States, Europe and America had a joint venture in terms of deterring Russia and threats to Europe and also to the United States. Trump represents a break with the past and a break in the trust and confidence that the Europeans had in the United States coming to their assistance. And this event of Trump's advent to the presidency and his calling into question the transatlantic relationship has put Europe into a panic, into a turmoil, and it's difficult to foresee how this panic and turmoil in defense ideas will pan out. I personally think that the Europeans in the EU and UK will follow what is called a de-risking strategy over the medium and long term. That is, they are de-risking vis-a-vis China, and they will de-risk vis-a-vis the United States and reduce their reliance on the United States for defense equipment, for even in the nuclear domain. But it'll take a long time. And so we're seeing a debate in Europe which is beginning, which is unprecedented, but it's not going to be resolved in the short term.
Dr. Singer, you've heard here Mr. Williams, and how would a failure to implement this loan-based defense initiative affect EU cohesion in addressing both the internal and external threats?
Yeah, this will be a big disaster for the future of Europe, you know. If the United States, you know, pursue that strategy for a long term, you know, so this will be like a dilemma, a big dilemma for the Europeans. They should really act quickly and find, you know, like where their future military policy will be. My best understanding that, you know, that type of division among Europeans, this will make Europe very fragile. You know, particularly they would like to form one voice against Russia. That level of trust between Russia and Europe is not very strong. That level is pretty low. So that type of decision that Europe should really act very quickly, particularly as, you know, China and the United States could be like future rivals for Europe. And if United States, needs really to take Greenland and make that threat to Denmark and for the NATO members of Europe. This is big challenge and this big division between United States and Europe, and the rising of China, if it's come close to Europe and their interest in the Middle East or either in the Europe, this is can really bring like huge anxiety of European countries. So Europe is really facing a very, very challenging situation. But if we succeed, really, if we succeed to read their military budget to that level and make their own military policy consistent with their own foreign policy, we can really consider Europe as a major power in the international system and we can really re-identify the world as multipolar system where United States and Europe and China. So this is basically the three major countries can really control the international system. But
Right.
I'm not really optimistic for a future that this number of major powers in international politics create problems.
Mr. Williams, briefly, because my time is running out here, and what role do you think these countries' economic concerns would play in the future of the EU defense decisions, particularly with regard to the so far ongoing Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, I think this is, again, a huge dilemma for the Europeans. The Europeans want, and the British, EU and the British, want to support Ukraine and to defend itself, even after a peace deal. And unfortunately, they don't have enough money. They don't have any fiscal and financial headroom to finance their own increases in defense and to finance Ukraine in its defense, a long-term defense against Russia. So again, I agree with Mr. Singer that the future for European defense is bleak because they can't afford the ambitions that they set themselves.
Right. That was Mr. Nicholas Williams, former NATO official, and Dr. Ashraf Singer, world politics analyst. We thank you so much for being with us and for your insights.